Right, welcome to our next video again on gradients. We've been told that a curve has equation y equals to x squared minus 16x. Find the gradient of the tangent to the curve at the point 4 and 12. Now, I want us to think about this curve here, the one that I've just drawn here. Now, this curve is not for that function, but I'm just using it to explain this. Now, the tangent to a curve at a particular point is the same as the gradient of that curve. For example, if you look at this point I'm pointing at here, this curve seems to be a bit flat at the bottom here. So the tangent is also going to be flat. It's also going to be horizontal. So if I can find the gradient of that curve here is the same as the gradient of that tangent, they're going to be the same thing. Okay. So question 1 says find the gradient of the tangent to the curve at the point where x is 4 and where y is 12. Now, pretending that x is 4 here, what we are saying is this, that if I was to draw a tangent along here, all the way down, right, what would be the grade of that tangent there? That's what we're talking about. Now, I know that the value of x here is 4, and they say that the value of y is 12. Now, what you need is not the value of y. Of course, you can use it to find the value of x, but what you need at the moment is just x. So the first thing you need to do is to differentiate this function. So you do differentiation. So that's going to be dy dx is going to be equals to 2x. Now, but before we do that, I've always said that the first thing to do is to basically try to make sure that you don't have x at the bottom like we're having there. So I will just try to, try this in another way. So I've got x squared, take away 16, to the power of x minus 1. This x here has got power 1 at the bottom. Bring it up, it becomes minus. Now, once you've done that, then you're going to want to do what? You're going to differentiate it. So dy dx is going to be equals to 2x. Negative 1 times negative 16 is going to be plus 16. And the power is going to go down by 1. So it's not going to become 0. It's going to go down to negative 2. So that's dy dx. Now, at the point where x is 4, finding the gradient of this line by subbing in 4 here is the same as finding the gradient of the tangent. So all we now need to do is just to sub in. So we're going to say that the gradient of the tangent is going to be equals to 2 times by what x is 4, okay, plus 16 bracket x to the power minus 2. Now, x is 4, so what I could do there, I could just sub that there. However, to make life easier for you, what you could do is to bring the x to the power minus 2 down. You can bring it down. If you bring it down, it becomes easy to simplify. Okay, and if you bring it down, then the sign becomes positive. Okay, so I'm going to put 16 times by x to the power minus 2 is the same as 16 over x squared. So I'm going to just put 4 here. So I'm going to have 4 squared at the bottom. Okay, and you're going to see the difference. So I've got 4 squared there. Now then, simplifying, I've got 8. Now here, I should have 16 at the top and then 16 at the bottom because it's 4 squared. Now see what happens here. I've got 8 plus 1. So 16 over 6 is going to be 1. So that's going to be 9. So the gradient of the tangent at this point is going to be 9, which is going to be positive. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to understand. Part B says, find the x coordinate of the point on the curve where the tangent is horizontal. So they are telling us that where the tangent is horizontal, we need to find what value of x is there. Okay. Now, remember that when the tangent is horizontal, it means that the gradient is 0. It means that the gradient is absolutely 0 because it's a flat line that runs horizontal. So let's assume it is that. So the first thing we need to do, we need to differentiate dy dx. So if I say dy dx, you need to differentiate that. And then once you differentiated it, equate it to 0 because for a flat line that is horizontal, the gradient is always equals to 0. So differentiating that, we got earlier that we have 2x and we had minus what? Minus 16 x to the power of, just do that again. I've forgotten what it was. Just going to do that again. So the first thing we did earlier was to write this in another way. So I've got y equals to x squared minus 16 x to the power minus 1. If we differentiate that, what we had earlier was that we have 2x there and we had plus 16 x to the power minus 2. Now, x to the power minus 2, you can put as x to the power of 2 at the bottom. It's the same thing. Now, this is the one that you now equate to 0. Okay, you equate that to 0. Okay, now what we want to do now is basically to simplify this thing. We want to solve for x because that's what they're asking us. Now, to solve for x, there are two ways we can do. There's two things that we can do here. One, we can try to get rid of this, but before we do that, we can basically try to bring the 2x this side. So we're going to have 16 over x squared is going to be equals to negative 2x. Because when you close the bridge, you become minus. Now, once we've done that, then the next thing we could do is to try to remove this x squared from the bottom because it's quite difficult to handle it there. So to do that, we're going to times both sides by x squared. Okay. So that's going to cancel with that. And this is what I'm going to end up having now. Okay, so carry on from that. All we need to do now is to simplify. That's what I want to do, just basically simplify. So I'm going to do the right-hand side. So I'm going to negative 2x times by x squared, which is going to be basically negative 2x cubed. Okay, because x squared times x is x cubed. And then on the other side, basically I've got 16. Now, if you want, you can swap them round. It might be easier just to simplify when you do that. When you swap them round, the signs don't change. It's good to have x on the left-hand side. Now, then the next thing now you need to do is to divide both sides by negative 2. Now, 16 divided by negative 2 is going to be negative 8. Okay. The next thing you're going to need to do is to cube root. You need to find the cube root of both sides. If you do that, left is going to be x, and this side, you're going to end up with the cube root of negative 8. Okay. Now, we're thinking about numbers that you times by itself 3 times to get a negative 8. And that's going to be negative 2. Right? So negative 2 cubed would give a negative 8. So we are saying that find the x-coordinate of the point on the curve where the tangent is horizontal. So when the tangent is horizontal, the gradient is going to be 0. So we differentiate and equate to 0, and then we just solve for x. At that point, x is negative 2. Right? So I would like you to pause the video quickly, and if you want to try question 2, please pause the video and try question 2. Okay, so hope you've tried that. So all you do here, as I explained earlier, is just basically differentiate and then equate to, these ones are quite different. I don't know why that's different, right? So this is just basically taking us back to what we did earlier, which is quite easy. You differentiate this and then you take the value of x and you put where the x is after you differentiate it. So this question is different. I thought it was going to do it part B. So it says, find the gradient of the tangent to the graph of y equals that at these points. So these questions we've done them already. So all you need to do is to differentiate this. Once you've differentiated, you then put x being 0 and x being 2 separately to find the different answers. Okay, so going back to that again, you differentiate this. Once you differentiated it, you then sub in 1 to find what dy dx is there, the gradient, and then you do the same with negative 2 as we did earlier. Okay, so that's all you need to do. So if I just do this one for you quickly, if I differentiate this, I'm going to end up with 1. Okay. Actually, it might be best for me just to leave that because when I only got 1 minute, otherwise the video won't allow me to do that. So I'm just gonna close this after showing the answer. So pause the video and just mark your answers. But I'm gonna go over a couple of them in a minute. Okay. Hope you done well on that.